Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. It was a cold night last night. It went down to minus 21 degrees Celsius and the greenhouse froze over. I made sure I emptied all my watering cans because if they freeze, it'll split them open. So I emptied them all into these buckets and you can see they've frozen over. There's a layer of ice on top. It's just starting to melt now, but yeah, it got quite cold in here. It went down to minus 4 degrees Celsius in the greenhouse. The high today is minus 17 degrees Celsius, so it's not warming up a whole lot. However, it is sunny, which is nice. Today's video will focus on tools. I'm going to get my toolbox all sorted out and my tools all sharpened and cleaned up and ready for spring. Over the winter, I have two rooms where I do bonsai work. I've got the plant room, which is attached to the house, and I've got my greenhouse out here. So my tools are kind of being divided. So I think today I've got to get them all organized. I'm going to start by dumping out my toolbox, and then I've got to sort through all the tools and see what I actually use and kind of prioritize those tools in the toolbox. And the ones that I don't use very often, I might get a secondary toolbox to put those in. I also have a lot of tools that have gone rusty. They need cleaning and polishing and sharpening. So I'm going to put those in a separate pile and I'll show you how to sharpen them and clean all the tools up. I've got some good examples of some really rusty ones that we can try and restore and make into a working tool again. On the side of the toolbox, there's a zip-up pouch. And in that pouch goes this hard plastic toolbox. And that's where I put all my scalpels and sharp instruments that you don't want sticking out and cutting someone. So I put all my scalpels and sharp tools in this plastic pouch and then put it on the side of the toolbox here. So I think that's the first thing I've got to organize is this hard plastic toolbox. In the toolbox, I have oil for oiling my pots, which does not need to be in there, so that can go out. I've got sandpaper for sharpening tools. This is 1000 grit. I've got a cloth for polishing. That doesn't need to be in there. I've got a better cloth. I've got brass marine wool for taking off rust. That can stay in there. I've got a gouge that I can carve wood away with. I've got a larger gouge and a fishtail gouge for doing really large carving. I've got a stone for sharpening the tools. I've got polishing compound, jeweler's rouge for sharpening tools. I have my dental pick. So that's empty. I'm going to shake it out and then reorganize this part of the toolbox. Oh, I got it on the wrong side. It goes on this side. That's why it doesn't fit. Yeah, it gets strapped in on this side here. And I think it goes vertical, doesn't it? Yeah. It's been a while since I've used this toolbox. I've got this broom here. These are really useful for cleaning up workbenches. Here's my old one. There's my old one, and it's really useful. I use it all the time, especially when you're working on roots and, you know, cleaning up things. Really useful. But this one's starting to wear out, so I got a new one. It's quite a bit bigger. I don't know if that needs to be in my toolbox. It is useful, but I think I'll put this in a different section. Maybe that other toolbox I was talking about. So we'll leave the brooms. To the one side here. Put the butter knife back in. There's another tool here. It's like a big hand claw. Useful for, you know, large trees, sorting out the roots, combing them out. I don't use it very often because I don't have a lot of large trees. So I'm going to put that aside too, and that can go in a different toolbox. I've got a magnifying headset. I'll show you what that looks when I put it on. So this headset, it's got a Velcro strap at the back and you put it on and then you you can see things very up close. So if you're looking for bugs or you want to do really detailed work on your tree, you can put these on and it really helps. You can really see well. You don't have to hold a magnifying glass in one hand. It's a really useful tool, but I don't think it needs to be in my toolbox. So again, that'll go in a different toolbox. I've got rubbing alcohol. It's really useful for cleaning and disinfecting tools. Yeah, really good. That should be in my toolbox because, you know, you're using your tools all the time and you need to disinfect your tools. So that will have to go in the toolbox, and it's quite heavy. I guess what I could do is get a smaller bottle and then put some of this in the smaller bottle. So I'll do that. So I'll keep that aside for now, and I'll have to find a little small plastic bottle that I can tip some rubbing alcohol in, and that'll make it a little more compact. I've got various bits of wire in here. I've got like this rubberized wire for, you know, tying up tomatoes and stuff and plants. My channel is mostly just clip and grow. I don't do much wiring, so there's no point having all this heavy wire in my toolbox. So I'm going to set that aside, and that'll go in my other toolbox. I've got wire cutters here. They're kind of rusty. They need cleaning up. They're useful for wire. So I'm going to put that with the wire, and that'll go in the other toolbox. I've got some really long tweezers. Now these tweezers, they were supposed to be stainless steel, but they're just, yeah, it even says on it, stainless steel china, and they've got all kind of rusty. I guess they could be cleaned up. They're quite big, but I don't really like them. They're a little, I don't know, not as precise as my other ones, and they don't really have much more of a reach. If you look at these ones, you kind of squeeze these ones here. Well, they're a little longer, I guess, but I don't know. I think that'll go in the other toolbox too. Maybe if we're working on larger trees again. I've got a saw in here. It's all gone rusty, needs cleaning up. This is a tool I don't use very often. If you're sawing through roots, it's really handy, but I don't use it that often, so that will definitely go in the other toolbox. That's really heavy also. I've got some cutters here. I don't know. These aren't bonsai tools. I don't know what they're used for, but they're nice. I could clean those up. That could be part of my toolbox. They're quite nice. I don't know. You don't want too many tools that do the same job. You want as few tools as possible, because every tool you have to keep it rust-free and sharpen it. And I think that'll go in the auxiliary toolbox too. Now I got some wire in here. This is electrical wire that's been softened. I won't put that in the toolbox either. Toothbrush, that's always handy. I think that'll definitely go in the toolbox. I'll put that aside and we'll organize that later. See what else is in here. I got all these bottle cap watering tops. I bought a whole bunch of them because I'm always losing them or breaking them. So I've got a bunch of those. They're very useful. They go on the end of your 2-liter pop bottles and you can water all your plants. They don't need to be in the toolbox here. They can be in the other one. I've got a chopstick here. I don't really use chopsticks too much. They're useful for sorting out soil and stuff, but I got the end of my root rake and I find I don't use it much. So I'll put that aside. Now in here I've got another toothbrush. I've got scissors. These are kind of small. I use the big blue ones for doing the hedge pruning. I don't use these scissors much at all, so I think they can go with the other toolbox too. I just want to keep my essential tools in here. So this is starting to get cleaned out, this middle pocket here. I'm just looking to see what other junk I have in here. I've got, I don't even know what that is. What is that? Oh, it's twist ties and a rag or a paper towel. Don't need that in there. And then there's a bunch of old drainage screens in here. Some more used wire, some organic matter. Yeah, and then there's just a bunch of old drainage screens and debris in here. So I think I'll have to tip this toolbox upside down and get rid of all this stuff that's fallen in there. Yes, it was due for a good clean out, this. So I'll keep my drainage screens. They're always good to reuse. I'll put them up on the top shelf with the pots. And all this can be recycled, or not recycled, it can be composted. So I'll do that. So that cleans out the middle section. So I've got this end section here, and I've got 3 knitting needles in here. So I prefer these over chopsticks because they're a little pointier on the end. So I don't need 3 of them. I can just put 1 in, and the other 2 can go in the other toolbox. And then there's a pair of scissors in here. They're actually really nice shears, but you can see how rusty they are. So they need cleaning up. So I'll have to do that. There's some screening for repotting. I'm not sure if that needs to be in here. I don't think so. I think I'll put that with my other roll of screening material. This end pouch, I remember now, this is the pouch I used to have all my pot stuff. Not my pot stuff. My items for cleaning my bonsai pots is what I meant to say. So I had like my mineral oil in here, and the reason I kept it in here is this is a bag, so if it ever leaked or anything, it wouldn't, you know, stain whatever this is sitting on. So I think that is a good place to keep my oil for my pots in there, and maybe, you know, my liquids, my rubbing alcohol can go in here too. So yeah, I think that'll be a good place for that. So I'll reserve this end pouch for liquids. Yeah, this toolbox is really dirty. Okay, so now let's rotate around here. Oops. I got a pouch here. Here's some more of this brass merino wool. It's kind of dirty. That can go in the other toolbox, I think, or with my sharpening stuff. I don't even know if my sharpening stuff needs to be in this toolbox. Everything in this toolbox should be sharp and ready to use. Maybe my sharpening stuff can be in my other toolbox that I get for it. I've got spoons in here. I got spoons, like way too many spoons. I got this really nice one with a rosewood handle. That one I'll keep in there. And then I just really need another smaller spoon. And these are all kind of blunt at the tips, so I think more of like a teaspoon would be better. So they'll go in the other toolbox. There's something in here. Oh, little tiny tweezers. Stainless. They're kind of handy because they're really fine. If you ever wanted to pick little insects off your tree, aphids or something, you could nab them with these. So that can go in. And that's got everything out of this side. So let's rotate around to this side now. So I have got smaller knitting needles. Do I need a whole bunch of them? No, I'll just put one in there. I've got These are just scissors. They're not like a bonsai tool. They're kind of cheap. I don't really need them in there because I got them duplicated with, you know, some better bonsai shears. So I don't really need these. I'll put that in the other toolbox. I got rubber in here, rolls of rubber. So this is useful for putting around branches if you're wiring them or tying them down, or, you know, putting guy wires. It protects the bark. You put a strip of rubber around the branch and then put your guy wire around it and pull it down. So this is actually fairly useful. I don't think I need 3 rolls in here, so I'll just keep the 1 roll, and the other 2 can go in the new toolbox. In here I've got that butter knife. It's useful for, you know, getting stuff out of the pot, but then again, you know, I've got the spatula on the end of my tweezers that does the same job, so I don't know if I need this one. It's made in Japan. It is maybe a little stronger, so maybe I will keep it in there. Here's a small spoon. So these spoons are useful for placing soil around your trees. Yeah, there's a little small spoon. So I'll put that in there. That's a useful one. There's my dental tools. I'll keep those out. Oh, I've got something else in here. There's even a smaller spoon. Holy. Wow, I've got a lot of spoons in here. And then in here, I've got something. I just can't get it out. Oh my goodness. Oh, I know what this is. Yeah, it's kind of stuck in there. I don't think I've ever used it. Oh my goodness. It's very hard to get out. That's probably why I've never used it. Come here. There it is. These are little, I guess they're used for leaf pruning. You kind of go. I've never used them. I've got scissors that do the job. I mean, if you had to defoliate a tree that had 1,000 leaves on it, maybe these would be better. I don't know. I don't know. Should I keep them in the toolbox? I won't for now. No sense duplicating tools. So that's got this end cleaned out, so all my 4 corners are cleaned out. I better take my plastic case out. I'll just, because I want to tip this toolbox upside down. This row's cleaned out, this row's cleaned out, so this is the last row to clean out. So I got my bypass pruners. These are the ones that don't have a spring on them. The spring popped out and I never found it. They still work well. They need sharpening. I have a newer pair that has the spring in. So I probably don't need both in this toolbox. So this one can go in my other toolbox as a backup. I've got my famous pruners that got left out in the weather. And yeah, when I found them again, they were all rusty like this. It's too bad. So this is one of the ones that's going to get cleaned up in a future video. I'll polish it all up so it looks like a brand new tool again. Sharpen it, get it working. Because it's a really nice tool. It's kind of like a branch pruner and a concave cutter all in one. So that'll get cleaned up. And that'll definitely stay in this toolbox. And then I've got my Made in USA scissors. These are a little smaller. I've got my large blue ones I use for hedge pruning. I don't really use these ones at all, so I'm not going to put them in the toolbox. Oh, there's still more tools down here. If I can get them out. Oh my goodness. Ah, the big pliers. I got these big needle nose pliers, useful for bending wire and things. I've never used them much, so they'll go in the other toolbox. They're really heavy too. I don't want this toolbox to be too heavy. Otherwise you hate lugging it around. Here's a little soil scoop, which is really nice. It's a little tiny one, and then it's got tweezers on the one end. So that's kind of a useful tool. I'll keep that one in the toolbox. I've got my curved scissors. They're useful for trimming moss and roots and everything, so they're good. And the rest are all scissors. I've got scissors galore in here. I've got fancy seahorse scissors. I've got stork scissors. I've got little tiny curved scissors. I've got little tiny straight scissors. I've got straight larger scissors and more tiny curved ones. So I've got a lot of scissors. They probably all need sharpening, so I'll do that, and I'll show you how to sharpen scissors. And that is it. My toolbox is empty. There's a piece of wire down here. That is empty. So I'm going to take it outside, turn it upside down, and shake it all out. And maybe even run the vacuum in here and try and clean it up a bit. There's all kinds of debris at the bottom that's collected over the years. Much lighter now that all the tools are out too. I had way too many tools in here that I didn't use. There's a spider's nest down in here. Yeah, so I'll give this a clean out. Here's a look at the ground where I shook out all the debris from my toolbox. Quite a bit of stuff that was in the bottom of it. Is it ever cold in here? It's gone down to 1 degree Celsius, so 1 degree above freezing in here. I had to turn off the second heater because it makes so much noise. And it's just cooled down in here. Outside it is -13 now, so it's warming up pretty good. I don't think it was supposed to get up that high today, but maybe with the sun out it's kind of a little warmer than it was expected. I took the toolbox outside, turned it upside down, shook out all the loose stuff in the bottom. Then I went in the house and vacuumed it out, so it's nice and clean. So now I'm going to start putting tools in it, and I'm going to make sure every tool I put in is sharp, cleaned up, and oiled, and ready for spring. Because the sun is out today, the greenhouse is beginning to warm up. When I left to clean the toolbox out, it was only 1 degree in here, 1 degree above freezing, and now it's at 6 degrees Celsius. So it's a little nicer in here. It was getting pretty cold working away at 1 degree in here. The first tool that I want to put in the toolbox is my concave branch pruners, the ones that are all rusty. I'm going to begin tomorrow to restore them, try and make it look like a brand new tool so it works really well. Yeah, it should be fun. I hate seeing them like this all rusty. It's kind of sad because it's such a handy tool to use. I was out last night downtown in our city filming this light show that's on display at City Hall. So I'll show you some video of that. Today's update is a light display down at our City Hall. It's -20 degrees Celsius out tonight, but the place is just full of families checking out the lights and having fun. Today I started the process of organizing my toolbox, and I'll be getting all my bonsai tools sharpened up, and I'll show you what I use each tool for as I go. And I don't know how long this series will be because I've got a lot of tools that I need to recondition and sharpen up to get them ready for spring. So that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.